All right, what's up, guys? Brian here, and this is my Impact Wrestling review for last night's episode of Impact Wrestling. So let's just get right into it. Three things that stood out. Overall, I thought the show was pretty good last night. It was the first episode of Impact of 2018. There were three things on last night's episode that I really did not understand. They had advertised the Impact Global Championship being on the line, and they made people think to themselves that they're gonna have a title match on the first Impact of 2018, but that was not the case, as they taped the world title match from WrestlePro in Rahway, New Jersey, on a Saturday, and they showed it last night. They showed the clip of it last night, and I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute, okay, you're not showing the full match on your show, where but it was between Eli Drake, the champion, the global champion, and Alberto El Patron. Like I said, my thought on that was that I thought they were going to have it be where they were airing Impact, not a taped match. But it was an okay. It seemed like it was an okay matchup. Eli Drake, once again, coming out on top and remaining global champion. So that was pretty much it for that match. I would have liked to have seen it, the full match on Impact, not have it be taped, but it is what it is. The other two things that really stood out to me as not really, that of a big deal, was we had Chandler Park, along with Joseph Park, representing Park and Park attorneys. Chandler Park took on John Bolin and pretty much won with the help of Joseph Park. For anybody that does not know, in the storyline, they have Joseph Park and Abyss as brothers, but really Joseph Park, Abyss, they're the same person, but they're playing off as their brothers and stuff like that. And if you haven't seen Joseph Park, he transformed. It's like Abyss has Joseph Park as an alter ego, but they're playing as brothers. So now they're introducing Chandler Park into the mix, as far as he's one of the representatives of Park and Park attorneys, and he had his match last night against John Bolin. He won with the help of Joseph Park. I don't know where they're going with this storyline, what's going to happen with this, but it just did not make any sense to me last night on Impact. I'm sorry to say. Unless they're planning on doing something down the line with Chandler Park and Joseph Park and Abyss and stuff like that, I don't need to see that. Joseph Park, they did the whole Joseph Park story. Now they're bringing in Chandler Park. Who's next? Dave Park, Tyson Park. Who knows what else they're gonna do? But Chandler Park won last night. And then the third thing that stood out for me, as far as something that is another storyline where they're heading with it, is they had a career versus career match with James Storm taking on Dan Lambert of America's Top Team. This one was basically just, we're going to have we're going to have these two face off. It's going to be career versus career. We're going to make it no holds barred. But at the beginning of the show, we're going to have Dan Lambert telling Lashley and America's Top Team, "Oh, I don't need your help. I don't need your help. You guys have the night off. I can beat James Storm by myself." Stuff like that. And then go into the match. What happens? America's Top Team comes out. They beat down Storm. Each one of them gets a shot in on Storm. Lambert goes for the pin. Storm kicks out. Storm fights back. He takes all of the other members out. Goes for Dan Lambert. Who comes out? KM, who had been lobbying to become a part of America's Top Team. He hits James Storm when Storm has his attention turned to Dan Lambert. He hits James Storm in the back of the head with the beer bottle. Dan Lambert goes for the pin. Goes for one, goes for two. Storm kicks out again. Basically, this ends with Storm losing the match after being hit with two beer bottles by two of the members of America's Top Team. I believe Lashley was one of them, or one of the other one. Or no, Lashley was holding Lambert back, and then Lambert was gonna hit Storm, and then two of the other members of America's Top Team hit Storm with a beer bottle each on each side of the head, and that was pretty much it. This match, I really did not care for this matchup very in the least. I'm sorry to say, it was Storm's last match in Impact Wrestling, but I just didn't like this match at all. I'm sorry to say. I don't know where they're heading with this whole storyline of Dan Lambert, America's Top Team, what the end of this storyline is going to be, but last night's match I really didn't care for very much. We saw there were 4 title matches on last night's episode. I already discussed the global title match with Eli Drake defeating Alberto El Patron. The opening match of last night's Impact was for the X Division title. It was Taiji Ishimori taking on the champion Trevor Lee. This one came about because of Ishimori picking up a tag team victory over Trevor Lee in a tag match a couple of weeks ago. This was actually a pretty good match. Ishimori and Trevor Lee really brought their A game. In the end, it was Ishimori with an amazing 450 splash that finally finished off Trevor Lee. Trevor Lee had Caleb Connolly in his corner, and he tried to help out, but it was not enough, as Ishimori, representing Pro Wrestling Noah, became the new X Division champion in a match that I thought was actually pretty good. After the match, in a backstage, Desmond Xavier, who has history with Ishimori dating back to the World X Cup tournament, or the Super X Cup tournament, I should say, he defeated Desmond Xavier defeated Ishimori in the finals of that tournament, and he made it very clear that, round 2, if there's a round 2 between those two, that Desmond Xavier is going to beat Ishimori for that championship. So that'll be an interesting match to see when that happen. If that does happen, I would like to see those two go at it. I thought they had a really good match in that Super X Cup tournament. So hopefully there's a rematch between those two. Let's see what else. We saw. Let me check my notes. We saw the first ever 3-way match for the Impact Grand Championship. It was EC3 defending against Matt Sidell, who he's been engaged in a feud with, and Falaba. And Falaba walked in this match as he was a guy that EC3 and Matt Sidell were going to have to contend with as far as, He has the weight advantage. He had the weight advantage and the power advantage. So basically, Falaba won the first round. EC3 won the second round, and then it went to the judges' scorecard after the time limit expired, and EC3 retained the grand championship. My problem, and Matt Sidell even said this in an interview after the match. He said, once they fire the judges, give rid of the rounds and do it one-on-one in a regular match. And I happen to agree. I think that, judges, it's fine for sometimes, but if you're going to win a championship, EC3 retains the championship every time. I think that if Matt Sidell and EC3 have a one-on-one match, I think it would be a lot better idea with no judges, no rounds, just a straight-up one-fall match. And I think that would be pretty interesting to see. But like I said, we'll have to wait and see what happens. And then for the tag team titles, it was OVE defending against LAX. These two teams have been in a bitter feud since OVE came into Impact Wrestling, and they won the tag titles from LAX. Then Sami Callihan joined OVE with Dave and Jake Christ, I think is what their the names are. And these two, like I said, they have been in a bitter feud. But the caveat on this matchup is that if LAX lost, they would be no more. And this matchup did not disappoint. Anytime these two teams have stepped in the ring against each other, they have put on very good matches. And this one, like I said last night, this one was no exception. Really good match. LAX, of course, with their backs against the wall, pulled out the victory with the Street Sweeper, I think is what they call their double team tag team move. If anybody knows their name of it, if that's the name of it, please let me know in the comments below. But OVE and LAX, they went at it. LAX won the titles back. Obviously, with winning the titles back, that OVE is going to want a rematch. So that was pretty much it for that matchup. Very good match. Very good episode of Impact last night, except for those three things with Lambert and James Storm, the Storm and Lambert match, the Eli Drake and Alberto El Patron. I thought that was going to be the full match was going to be on Impact at wherever they were holding Impact, but that was not the case as they taped that match. And then the whole Chandler Park, Joseph Park thing that they got going on. But it will be interesting to see where everything ends up going. It'll be interesting to see what happens next week. But my thoughts on last night's Impact, I thought it was a pretty good show, except for those three things that I mentioned. Sorry about that. So with that being said, if you guys watched last night's episode of Impact, let me know what you guys thought of it in the comments below. This has been my review of and my thoughts on last night's episode of Impact Wrestling. I am Brian, and thank you for watching.